Last year saw the death of one of the most prolific and influential street photographers of our time. No one could disagree that William Klein brought a unique form of energy and his own brand of chaos and spark to the world of street photography. And there's a lot we can learn from him, which is what this video is all about. So, William Klein. He left school at 14, and after a short spell in the army, he moved to Paris, where he studied art and began making experimental, abstract photographs of his paintings. He moved back to New York in the 1950s and started working professionally as a photographer. He experimented with new techniques, creating unusual shading, odd angles, and other unexpected elements in his finished images. He met Alexander Lieberman from Vogue, and the two began a partnership, and they worked together on a number of fashion features for the magazine. Around that time, Klein created a series of images that presented New York as a dark and shocking place. When no one would publish these photos, he turned the images into the book, New York. He later published other photographic books in a similar style, Rome, Moscow, Tokyo. The New York book was a gritty, cacophonous and sometimes violent diary of Klein's odyssey through the city's streets, starting to turn this visceral reality of New York life into his unique visual signature. And we'll come back to this idea of a visual signature later. He captured life on the streets in a way that had never been seen before. Part of what made New York so revelatory for Klein was its rejection of the traditional street photography values of the time. Masters such as Cartier-Bresson and Bresson believed that photographers should work silently, remaining unseen and unnoticed, in order to capture life as it naturally unfolded. But this wasn't Klein's way at all. Klein's images in the 50s were certainly unusual for their time. They were grainy, blurry and contrasty. Qualities many of us would consider today to be defects. Klein not only embraced these qualities, but also cultivated them by using a 35mm camera, slow film and a wide-angle lens. And he used this combination for both his fashion photography and his personal work. His approach set a precedent for many of the emerging street photographers of the 1960s, whose work drew on many of his innovations. Klein certainly had a good innings. He was born in 1926 and died late in 2022. And during that time, he left a richly stylized legacy to the world of street photography. But what can we, as street photographers today, actually learn from him? Let's look at a few specific learning points that we can bring it into our own street photography. Firstly, shoot wide. And this quote says it all, really. I photograph what I see in front of me. I move in close to see better and use a wide-angle lens to get as much as possible in the frame. Look closely at many of Klein's images and you'll feel you're right in there, right in the thick of it, physically in that scene, in the moment, in fact. There's an intimacy to his work. This isn't peering in from afar, voyeuristically. You're right in there with him. No part of the frame is wasted. There's lots of relevant information, context, multiple points of interest, and just lots of content. I hate that word, but in this context it works. There's lots of content. To achieve this, he'd usually shoot with a wide lens, somewhere between 18 and 28mm. When asked why he shot so wide compared to the street standard of 50mm, which was used by the likes of Cartier-Bresson, he said he wanted to become an active participant of the scene, interacting with the people, hearing their conversations and being close enough to see the colours of their eyes. My second takeaway point from Klein's work is not to follow the herd. Be a maverick. And this is possibly the most valuable learning point here. Klein just didn't care what people thought. He flouted convention, railing against being told how to do things. By the mid-1950s, when photographic principles had become quite established and rules had started to emerge, we were told what to avoid. strange angles, high contrast, grain, blur, chopping heads off, chopping feet off, and so on. Klein didn't care for any of this at all. In fact, he turned it around. He turned it on his head and used it to his advantage to produce pictures that were full of energy and charisma, movement, vibrance. But most of all, they were very different to what other people had been doing. Of course, the photographic establishment didn't understand or care for his rebellious, cavalier, buccaneering approach. It was far more comfortable with predictable, static, conforming, and sometimes sterile imagery that ticked all the right boxes. When talking about his seminal New York book, Life is Good and Good for You in New York, published in 1956, Klein summed it up nicely. The resulting book went against the grain 30 years ago. My approach was not fashionable then, nor is it today. So he didn't care. And I think we can take this point and fast forward to today, and we can see why street photography trends generally don't do well in camera club competitions. Judges just don't get it, and they can't get their heads around lack of perfection or lack of attention to detail, to say nothing of breaking all the rules. Klein wasn't one for following what other people were doing. He didn't care a hoot about fashions or trends or vogues. He did things his way, and I really like that. When we see so many Instagrammers and YouTubers, for that matter, all following the herd, copying each other with derivative work, Klein's approach is a breath of fresh air. Look at Nick Turpin's great project On the Night Bus, for example. This was an original and highly creative body of work, but boy, has it been copied. Instagram is now full of this stuff, but you'd never have caught Klein trying to do what everybody else was doing. So a bit of original thinking. There's a great concept for you. Let's all give this a try. And this point naturally leads me on to another, which is don't be afraid to experiment. Now, I don't know about you, but I love experimenting. And William Klein was a great experimenter. He was never afraid to try something new and original, whether that meant experimenting with film stock, with printing effects, with grain, blur, angles, contrast, focus, whatever. He'd try anything. Let's make a comparison here with Cartier-Bresson, who was seen to be the highest authority for street photographers. This is what Klein had to say about him. I liked Cartier-Bresson's pictures, but I didn't like his set of rules, so I reversed them. I thought his view that photography must be objective was nonsense. Because the photographer who pretends he's wiping all the slates clean in the name of objectivity doesn't exist. And in a way, he would do something the opposite of what was the norm, just to see what happened. A good example of this is how he would often shoot with a slow shutter speed to induce some motion blur, which really flew in the face of convention in those days when sharpness was considered to be the only way. And this is what he said about it. If you look carefully at life, you see blur. Shake your hand. Blur is a part of life. And then, I've always done the opposite of what I was trained to do. Having little technical background, I become a photographer. Adopting a machine, I do my utmost to make it malfunction. For me, to make a photograph was to make an anti-photograph. How interesting. So what all this is saying to me is, let's be fluid, be instinctive, try things, make mistakes, embrace the imperfect, break some rules, do what feels wrong, and accept all the serendipitous gifts this approach will bring you. So on to my next learning point from Klein is have a strong work ethic. Klein wasn't one to leave his street shooting completely to chance. He wouldn't walk round, as many of us do, randomly, hoping for the best. I don't roam round with a camera, and I never did. I took pictures in spurts, for my books, for some assignments, or on special occasions. He was focused on the streets, and he usually had a plan. he had a stronger work ethic than just about any street photographer I studied, and output was always at the forefront of his mind. For many of us, street photography is all about the journey, and rightly so in my view. But for Klein, it was more about the destination. He worked in short bursts, but very focused and concentrated ones. It's hard to believe that many of his important books, such as Paris, New York or Moscow, each took only around 3 months to complete. So even if you don't have a lot of free time to shoot on the streets, don't fret. If we can learn anything from Klein, it's that it is the quality, not the quantity of time we use when we're shooting on the streets, that matters. We generally think of street photography as being a candid pursuit, where subjects are unaware of our presence with a camera. Not necessarily so for Klein, and this will upset some purists, I know. You see, Klein would often pose his subjects or make a deliberate move to show that he was taking a picture. He'd let them know he was there. Look at this, one of his most famous and iconic images. He saw this child on the street with a gun and said to him, "Look tough." And it was that interaction which informed how the resulting image would look. Without the interaction, we just wouldn't have this shot. Klein was aware of the difficulties faced by street photographers when shooting strangers on the street, but he was quite sanguine about it. It's easy to see shooting strangers as being a particularly provocative act, but in reality, Klein found that being completely open about what he was doing and not trying to hide it, he found that many of his subjects actually quite enjoyed the experience. Here's another quote. "Generally, the people I photographed in New York seemed flattered." Now there's another interesting thought. Another quote that I find interesting relates to his to personal choice. He said, "Rather than catching people unaware, they show the face they want to show. Why not allow the subject the possibility of revealing his attitude towards life, towards his neighbour, even the photographer? Both ways are valid to me." Now, I know this flies in the face of how we are generally taught to approach street photography, and many of us will be uncomfortable with the idea. I guess how you approach this will come down to your own personality and your take on the world, your tone of voice for your street photography. But maybe just bear in mind that candid isn't necessarily the only way. I just mentioned tone of voice. We need to remember that we're street photographers, not photojournalists or documentary photographers, although I know, the boundaries can blur sometimes. But an objective view of the world isn't really what it's all about. We're allowed to let a voice come through. We can make a point. I think it's important to show how we connect to the world that's out there. And this was always a key thing about Joel Meyerowitz. This is a point he made. And the first video I did in this series was about Joel, and I'll pop a link up here. We shouldn't be afraid to express an opinion through our images. And I think the quest for objectivity can sometimes remove the gloss from our work. So back to Klein, whose street photography was very subjective. He photographed life as he saw it, or as he wanted to see it. So that, in a nutshell, is William Klein, and I think that there is quite a lot we can learn from him, and these are just my points. You will probably find your own points by looking at his work. Personally, I've always been a rule breaker, and this approach really resonates with me. And any artists who constantly moves against the current gets my attention. Well, I hope you found this useful, and I'll be back to you very shortly with another video, so please stay tuned. Bye for now.